Agency. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Division 7, Gary Van Dam.
Here.
Division 6, Audrey Miller.
Here.
Division 5, Robert Paris.
Here.
Division 4, George Lane.
Here.
Division 1, Shelley Sourceable.
Here.
Division 3, Frank Donato.
Here.
Division 2, Keith Dias.
Here.
Dwayne Chisholm.
Here.
James Markman.
Here.
And Holly Hughes present.
Thank you very much. Item 3, voluntary public roll call. If any member of the public wishes to introduce themselves, please feel free to do so now.
Vincent Dino, Palmdale Water District.
Vince?
Good evening.
Jack Cephas, White Fence 3.
Oh, Jack?
Joseph Long, Stantec Consulting.
Joe?
John Joyce, Roseman News, with good news, Keith, that the California News Publishers Association gave us an award for our article on will serve letters that the developers want from Avek.
Congratulations. You deserve it.
Thank you.
Item 4, public comments and period open to the public. If anyone wishes to address the board on any item not on the agenda, please feel free to do so now. If there are no public comments, we'll move along to item 5. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Hi, Mr. President. This is Rob. I move we adopt tonight's agenda.
Thank you.
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you. Item 6, new business. It appears there are none.
That's correct.
Item 7, do I have a motion to approve tonight's consent calendar?
This is Director Renato. I'll move on the consent calendars.
Thank you.
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you. Item 8A, Finance Committee. Director Donato, do you have a report?
Yes. Went over quite a few things here. We'll start with item 8A1. Consideration of possible action on water treatment chemical bids. I'm going to have John Bozigian, our operations managers, to give us an update on this and the how can I say it, the deflated cost.
Okay, thank you, Director Donato. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to tell you that prices have gone down with chemicals, but like everything else in our economy, they're doing nothing but going up. Just a reminder, or bring you back to what we do every year. We send out an RFP to about a dozen large chemical supply companies for our water treatment chemicals for the coming fiscal year. We use 3 main chemicals in water treatment: aluminum sulfate, sodium hypochlorite, and zinc orthophosphate. And included in your board packet, there's a spreadsheet that's kind of a bid breakdown, shows the bid results. It's got a lot of information on it as far as budgetary impact and so forth. I'll just kind of give you the Cliff Note version, and you can ask any questions. I'd be happy to answer them during the presentation. So we sent out the bids, and first of all was aluminum sulfate. Eco Services was the low bid on that. They're our current supplier, so they've done very well for us with making sure we have chemical on time and so forth. Their price is $550 per dry ton. This is a 42% increase unit price. JCI Jones is our current hypochlorite supplier. They were also the low bid for hypochlorite, so we'll keep them for another year. Their cost is per gallon, $1.68 per gallon. That's a 56% price increase for that chemical. And then zinc orthophosphate was Thatcher Company, but we received a lower price this year from Brentag Company. They were a previous supplier. We've used them in the past. And they have provided a cost of $1.01 per pound, which equals about $13.91 per gallon. And that's an 18% increase. So, the bad news is unit prices have gone way up. No big surprise. Raw materials are up. Fuel costs are up. And, it's affecting everybody. Dwayne had a good recommendation, though, since prices are somewhat unstable, that we, every 90 days, get our chemical suppliers to commit to doing a price review. And if there's a price reduction, they've offered to give it to us if raw materials go down in fuel costs. But also if they want to increase the price, which by contract they're allowed to do, then they have to show reasons why. They have to show that raw materials are up or diesel prices are up, so forth. So that would be good. That'll, I think, keep everybody pretty honest. But that's about all we can do. We need the chemical to treat the water.
John, do most of these suppliers, do they manufacture it or process it, or do some of them buy it from an outside source?
Eco Services and JCI Jones, they manufacture it themselves. Brentag buys it from another source, but for some reason they were the cheapest. I'm surprised at that.
Transportation is probably a major factor too.
Yeah, I think transportation is a big factor because of diesel costs, but with aluminum sulfate, sulfuric acid, I guess the prices of sulfuric acid have gone way up, one of the raw materials, so that contributes too, certainly.
Our suppliers, how close are they? Are they Southern California or out of state? Or?
Let's see. Well, the factories are in Nevada, but the people we deal with, I order aluminum sulfate from Texas, but it comes out of Nevada. And the same thing with thiosulfate, the disinfectant, sodium hypochlorite, it comes out of Nevada. I'm not sure where the zinc orthophosphate is coming out of.
I would bet those prices depend a lot on just the location where it's going to be delivered to.
It probably has a lot to do with it, but
if we were in a different state, putting a bid out, it may be completely different. Just
right. Well, we're limited to our state of California has chased a lot of businesses out, so we're somewhat limited to who we can deal with.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess there's good news and bad news. The bad news is the prices have gone up per unit. The good news is, if there is good news, is that last year's chemical budget was $1.3 million. This year we're asking for $1.4 million, so it's going up $100,000, which isn't terribly bad considering how much the chemical's gone up. And the reason why is that this year we're going to treat approximately 36,000 acre-feet of water. But 24,000 acre-feet is going to be groundwater, which takes no aluminum sulfate or very little at the Rosamond plant. So, and 12,000 will be state project water. So the increase in budget is 100,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but it's minimal considering how much the chemicals have gone up. So with that said, staff would recommend approving three contracts. We can do it on the same board order, I'm sure. Eco Services in the amount of $474,375. JCI Jones in the amount of $277,200. And Brentag Company in the amount of $319,930. There are two other chemicals that we currently use, liquid oxygen and CO2, carbon dioxide. Those are on a 5-year contract, so those won't be rebid until 2025. But the annual amount for that is $294,005 for those two chemicals. So the total comes out to $1.365 million. So we would ask that the board approve a $1.4 million treatment chemical budget for the new fiscal year. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Also, Director Lane also moved, Mr. President.
This is Director Naka. I'll second it.
Thank you. Any more discussion or questions?
I will make one comment. The president went out yesterday live across the country and says he doesn't care how much gas is going up. He said it's a transition period. I'll bet you anything that if gas goes up another $2 a gallon, in 3 months prices ain't coming down. So that's that they falsified the inflation. They raised the gas. Gas. Every single thing we do in life, everything, even go to the doctor, deals with gasoline. So, till it comes down, prices ain't going to come down. So, today it's cheap, compared to what's going to be 30, 60, 90 days from now.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, Frank, is this Director Van Dam. On that deal, how long can we go out on that? They're allowing us 5 years on CO2. How come we can't make a longer contract?
Only because, Gary, CO2 and liquid oxygen, they have to supply the storage tanks and the equipment to vaporize that chemical. So they will not go out on a 1-year contract because it's a huge investment for the suppliers for that. That's why that has to be a 5-year contract. And then the chemical suppliers won't go out past a year because the prices are just too volatile. And so those treatment chemicals are always on a 1 year for that reason.
Okay, so these are all on a 1-year contract then, John?
Yeah, the 3 that I mentioned we're hoping for approval tonight are on a 1-year contract.
Okay, and then being that we're a state agency, are we tax exempt?
We're tax exempt on any chemical that stays. I believe it's any chemical that stays in the water. Sodium hypochlorite stays in the water. Zinc orthophosphate stays in the water, and that gets taxed, or it gets accounted for during through the water rate. Aluminum sulfate is removed through the treatment process, so that doesn't. And I could have that backwards, but 2 of them are subject to tax and 1 isn't, or vice versa, but I could find out for sure.
Yeah, just check on that, John. Make sure we're getting a fair shake on that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Any more questions or discussion? If not, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you.
Okay. That was a little expensive going on there. Okay, let's have A2. Again, this will be with John.
Okay, so these are going to be less painful, a little bit less money. Okay, so this item is for the rebuild and repair of 13 process meters that we have out in our system. These we nickname these the cash registers because this is what the water goes through and we bill the customers off of. So Avek has used Rockwell meters for the past 45 years. And they've stopped manufacturing these meters and parts are obsolete, can't get parts for them. We're slowly transitioning to new technology magnetic meters. But as you can imagine, with over 100 meters in the system, this is going to take many years, probably 5+ years to do this transition. So in the meantime, we have about 13 meters that we would like to get rebuilt. We found a company in Hemet that has stockpiled spare parts and actually has a few manufactured that they need, and they can rebuild these meters. And this will put 13 meters ranging from 3-inch diameter to 10-inch diameter on the shelf for us. So let's say during the summer a meter goes out, we can just go and drop another one in and not miss a beat. So anyway, for this service, it is expensive, but there is no one else that will do it. It's $29,363.74 to rebuild these 13 meters. So we would recommend, or we would ask that the board support this. It'll give us spare meters until we can get everything changed out within the next 5 years.
John, I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is that micrometer in Hemet?
Yeah, it's McCall's Meter Service is who we use. They've done a lot of meter work for us over the years, and like I said, they saw the end coming with these rock wells, and they bought up all the spare parts that they could find. So they're good for probably another 3 or 4 years with rebuilding these type of meters.
Okay, and then they'll loan us meters in the meantime while they're rebuilding?
Pardon me, Gary?
They loan us a meter?
No, we don't have, no. These are strictly going to be spare meters.
Okay.
So these are, if something goes out, we'll do a swap out and send one down to get it rebuilt again.
Okay, so we have enough meters inventory to continue to rebuild and replay. Okay, thank you, John.
Uh-huh.
Hi, John. This is Director Miller. Just for comparison purpose, what is the cost of the new magnetic style meter?
They, depending on the size, Audrey, they're different, but probably a 10-inch magnetic meter would probably be anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000, I would imagine, with all the, and then you have to add these. It's not a direct swap out. The magnetic meters are much narrower than these rock wells, so there would be some welding and fabrication to put them in. And then, if you were going to get a rock well meter, if they were even available, it would probably be a little bit less. But the mag meters, I think, are a good move for the future. They're very accurate. They have no moving parts, and they're, you can get them calibrated and so forth. So that's kind of our vision for the future.
So this is just a backup in case.
Yeah. Yes. It's we expect meters in the next 3 or 4 years to be going out. So this will give us spares on the shelf to drop in until we can do the full change outs.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
We have a motion to approve the proposed purchase order.
Director Donato, make the motion to approve 8A2.
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Also second, Mr. President.
I'm sorry, who seconded it?
This is Shelley. I said I'd second it, but I don't know who was first.
Shelley, you are.
Okay, motion by Frank, second by Shelley. If there's no more discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Pierce,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsapple,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you.
Now we're on to 8A3, John.
Okay, this next item is the repair and upgrade of the CO2 system at the Quartzville treatment plant. About 8 years ago, Avek contracted with a company called Blue and Green Company, and they make this equipment that injects, it combines carbon dioxide and creates a carbon dioxide solution that lowers the pH of the water coming into the Quartzville treatment plant. And what we found was during the hot summer months, especially during drought periods, the water in the aqueduct degrades to the point where the pH of the water is over 9. It's sometimes as high as 9.8 units. And the aluminum sulfate just does not work well when the pH is that high. So our treatment process was not working well. So we contracted with this company. They installed the system, and this lowers the pH down to an acceptable level during the summer, where we can have a good treatment process. This equipment is in need of some upgrade and a software update for sure. and some components that are proprietary that need to be replaced on this unit. So we got a price of, it's just under $30,000 for this company to come out, do the software update, replace some components on the system that are bad. The system still works, but it is not as dependable as it needs to be. So we think this is a good time to do this upgrade. So we would ask the board to consider approving a $30,000 amount to Blue and Green Company to do this work.
Do we have a motion?
This Director Renato, I'll move on. 8A3, we approve.
Do we have a second?
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Thank you. Any more questions or discussion?
Yeah, I got a question for John. John, is this part of the reason because the water moves slower, or just because the quality water up north, by the time it gets here, with the heat, it does this?
Yeah, I think it's that exact thing, Frank. I mean, the water is definitely moving slower. They're just not moving as much during the summer because there's not that much to move. And you can just imagine with 400 miles of aqueduct, that water just sits and cooks. So with the organics in the water dying off during the summer because of the heat, that just raises the pH. So yeah, it's certainly an effect of drought years. There's no doubt.
Questions or discussion? Hearing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Oh, yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to last one for finance, 8A4. Let John continue on with his report.
Okay, this is my last one. We put the East Side treatment plant back online about a month ago. And as the board knows, every year we try to replace, we have over 400 valves in these treatment plants. And we've tried to replace, a dozen or more every year. And we found that 2 of the filter influent valves at the East Side treatment plant were seized up. They will not move. So a third of the plant is unusable. And during the summer, we're going to need that plant to be fully usable. We have to bounce between filters when the summertime comes. We're backwashing, filters. There's 6 filters out there. So anyway, we checked with some valve suppliers. There's about a 20-week lead time to receive these. These are 18-inch diameter valves. They're in a very difficult to access location. They're about 20 feet off the ground. And so we called our go-to company, R&B Automation, and they, of course, have these valves in stock. There's some machine work that has to be done to retrofit these actuators on the valves. But they do have them in stock, and they can get this job done within 2 weeks, which is really what we need. So we did write a PO to them under the purchasing policy, emergency and time-sensitive purchases. But I wanted to bring it to the board's attention that the price is $36,983.15 to get this work done. Price of the valves is a little higher than we paid in the past, but that's not surprising because R&B, when they saw this whole COVID thing coming, they bought containers full of different size valves. And so they're one of the few places that can provide them at short notice. So we would ask that the board, this is more for informational, but we would just ask that the board understand that this is a necessary expense for what we're doing here this summer. But I think we still do need an approval. Be happy to answer any questions on that one.
Yeah, John, they can't rebuild those valves.
No, these have what's called wetted shafts. And the new valves, the water never touches the shaft. And that's why they don't seize up. They can last a lot longer. The old style has packing. The water's always against the shaft. And after so many years, they just seize up. They give up the ghost. So they're not rebuildable at all. And
How old are these valves?
The plant was put into service in 1984. So we're going on, 40 years, 38 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But Gary, we did a couple years ago, we did have 2 of these valves replaced. It went very well. This company knows exactly what they're doing. And so that worked out real well. So we're confident that they can get this job done. And then we'll target the last 2 valves not this coming fiscal year, but the next fiscal year.
Okay. Did we try and get another, like Rain for Rent or somebody out of Bakersfield to bid this also? Or do we just go with R&B?
No, we called Core and Main and we called Ferguson to see if we could even get the valves. And they can get them. And the price was a little cheaper, but there's a 20-week lead time. So that puts us well past summer.
You might want to try Rain for Rent in Bakersfield.
Okay, we have called them before for smaller valves, 18-inch. I know they have the irrigation valves,
right?
But the 18-inch, I think, may be a little out of their wheelhouse, but we can certainly in the future check.
Okay.
If not, could we have a roll call vote, please?
I have a question real quick. It looks like we have a typo. On the screen, it says 26,983. And on our agenda, it says 36,983. So is it 36,983?
It is.
It's 36.
36,983.15.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clarification. Thank you.
I like the one on the screen better, guys.
Yeah.
That's for another board order.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you very much.
That concludes my report.
All right,
Good
thank
report. Thank you. Thank you, John. Item 8B1, High Desert Water Committee. Again, Director Donato.
Okay, so consider possible board action existing farmhouse location within the project boundaries of the High Desert Water Bank. Our engineer and
this is Dwayne Chisholm, the general manager. I'll take this one, Frank.
Okay.
All right. Board Chairman Dias, members of the board. This item is a follow-up from a previous item we had at the last board meeting. We went through a staff report, which was contained in your packet. We also went through the pros and cons in the presentation that was done previously. As we went through that presentation at the last board meeting, there was the suggestion that a tour of the location would be beneficial to get everyone's clear understanding with regards to the decision to be made with regards to the farmhouse. That tour occurred on Tuesday, the 17th, I guess it would be last Tuesday, and we were able to review the existing house, the elevation of the embankments relative to the house, and the reasons why the berms had to be so high. And at this point, with that further information, staff still is recommending that the farmhouse be removed and that we use that area for expanding the basins in that area. We can, if the board would like, see the full presentation from 2 weeks ago, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to act on this if you feel adequately understand the project and the decision that we're asking you to make.
I may add, it was a good tour, much better understanding after viewing it, and I think most directors agree that it needs to be. We can't keep that structure.
Right.
I would agree with that assessment, George.
I also agree with George on that. I would like to make one recommendation. If we do decide to tear it down, are we going to try and bid it on the tear down, or how do we do that?
Yes, that'll be included in the bid package that's going out for the project. So it will be bid, yes.
Okay, because what I noticed, Dwayne, there was a lot of, it looked like they had left all the appliances and everything in the house from the previous owner. I didn't know if that could be utilized by the bidder or somebody else.
Yeah, that would become property of the bidder.
Okay, thank you.
Well, at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion. If we agree with staff's recommendation to demolish the farmhouse, I would like a motion on that.
This is Director Lane, Mr. President. Also move that we would proceed with continuation of having it demolished, and I guess we have to get a bid right there.
Yes.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Are there any more questions or discussion?
This is Director Miller. I do have one question. It seems like the structure's been used for meeting and whatnot. Would it still be used for meeting until such time the other structure can be built, or what's the staff intent there?
Yeah, the normal protocol would be for construction trailers to be included and located on the site outside of the construction zone, and so that's what will occur in this particular instance.
Okay, so the structure would be torn down soon, then.
Yes, it'll be one of the early stages of the construction project. Yes.
Okay, thanks for answering that.
Dwayne, when will we start taking bids on that?
The bid for the first phase work is currently out to bid at the present time.
Are there any more questions or discussion? If not, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you very much. Moving along to item 8C1, Water Master Committee. Director Paris, do you have a report?
I would turn that over to Dwayne.
Yes, thank you very much, Director Paris. Continue in your packet is the agenda for the Water Master Committee meeting that'll be occurring tomorrow. And in that on that agenda, there is a item that we've been watching as an agency, and that's the administration, the RFP for the administration. The subcommittee has met, and they're going to be recommending that the list of 7 proposers be cut down to 4 that'll be invited for an interview. It's my understanding that there's going to be some questions about one of the potential proposers that'll be handled in closed session. But I just wanted to indicate to you that process is moving forward, and that the interview process for the new administrator will be a public process that the Water Master will have. the balance of the items on the water master agenda are fairly routine, and nothing of note that I'd like to bring out for the director's consideration as far as direction to the water master representative.
This is Director Percival. I don't see an agenda in our package. Can we please have that sent to us before the meeting tomorrow?
We certainly can.
I've been looking and I don't see it, unless you can tell me a page number.
Yeah, let me see if I
Should be on page 73.
73?
Oh, really?
73, 74, 75. Towards the back.
Last page.
Oh, so it's out of order. Okay, thank you.
All righty, thank you.
Dwayne, did we have a time frame set when we wanted that new staff to take place?
Oh, that's still in discussion with the proposer. That's still yet to be worked out exactly what the transition time proposal would be.
Okay.
Dwayne, what kind of action are you looking for?
I'm not looking for any action. Just wanted to give you that update and give an opportunity for the board members to provide any action that or any direction that they may consider appropriate to the representative.
Okay. Are there any more questions or discussion for Dwayne?
I think one thing we were trying to do as the landowners, Exhibit 4, was make sure that we use an individual instead of a law firm to represent us due to the assessments not going above $5 an acre foot.
Yeah, that's that'll be discussed at the meeting tomorrow. Wednesday tomorrow.
Right. That's what the Exhibit 4 landowners were concerned about, is just things going through the roof and them getting caught paying the bill, Dwayne.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions for Dwayne? If not, we'll move along to item 9, General Manager's Report. Dwayne?
Yes, thank you very much, Board President Dias, members of the board. I have a couple of items to discuss with you tonight in the General Manager's Report, one in the beginning and one at the end, along with the standard General Manager's Report. The first item I'd like to talk to you about has to do with a up-and-coming fish and game commission meeting that's going to occur in June. And I have a short little staff report to provide some background information on this. So this has to do with the listing of the Joshua tree as a potential endangered species. There we go. So just as a way of a little bit of background, the western Joshua tree is one of the ones that's being reviewed for the by the California Endangered Species Act, and this was brought up by the Center for Biological Diversity that asked the Fish and Wildlife Department to have this review on 9/22/2020. The commission voted to include it as a possible and threatened and endangered plant. I don't want to say species because it's a plant and a tree. And so they began, and after that period in September of 2020, they began their review. The Fish and Wildlife staff began their review to determine whether it meets the criteria for listing. Okay. Give me some help there, Holly, to switch that. Oops, back one. Okay. So interesting, the Department of Fish and Game, or Fish and Wildlife, I should say, published their status review last month, and they concluded that the tree does not warrant threatened status. And as so they have a meeting on June 15th and the 16th to determine whether the tree should be maintain that endangered status and be listed. We did look at the agenda just to see if there was any information that we could provide to the board on this particular matter. The agenda hasn't been posted, nor has any of the backup material as of today.
I missed some. I thought you said it was not warranted.
That's what the staff has indicated, that is not warranted, yes. And as such, but they're still going to have their hearing on the 15th as the Fish and Game Commission to review this. And so if it does get listed for some reason and the Fish and Game Commission overrides their own staff recommendation, then they would, it would get into that endangered species process, and then you have to protect it and do all the things that you normally have to do with threatened and endangered plants and so forth. So as far as this is not working here, so let me see. This might help. Okay, so what staff is recommending is that we listen to the commission meeting on the 15th and report back the decision that's going to come back from the board. I know there's likely going to be some opposition from the Center for Biological Diversity. That'll occur at that meeting. They'll make their presentations, but I usually, if the staff is has that provision, that's most of the time the Fish and Game Commission will sustain the report that the staff had prepared. With that, I'll answer any questions that you may have, but that's kind of where we are with regards to the Joshua Tree matter.
So, when is AWWA or the state water contractors make a decision on which direction we're going to go?
Well, I don't believe the state water contractors or the Aqua have expressed an opinion with regards to the listing of the Joshua Tree Act. At the present time, I haven't heard of any policy decision to support or not support that decision.
Where's that meeting held at, Dwayne?
It's in Los Angeles, down on Main Street, and it's they have a 2-day meeting there on the June 15th, and we'll find out, when the item's going to be heard. But I think it's interesting the fact that the report that was done by the staff does not recommend listing the Joshua Tree.
Well, wait, I think we should. They're going to have it on Zoom now? I'm assuming they're probably going to have it on Zoom, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's make sure the board has access to the link, and also anybody who's listening, because this is in our area. It's a huge concern. Which direction we might go. I'm hearing reports that, and I said this years ago, and you guys know this, that we should have taken the county district over there off of I-90th resource place and start planting, 5-gallon size Joshua trees for mitigated reasons. Nobody even want to listen to me, and you can't. Palmdale tried to put a program over here off of Highland. They're all dead. Everyone fell over. And now they're talking now. I've heard from people I've talked to that they had a small report in Victorville about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they were talking to environmentalists that somewhere around 10,000 a piece if you remove them. You know, it's absolutely ludicrous. Removing them is one thing, and not replanting them with a smaller one. I don't understand. You know, we got to make sure what's going on here. This could really disrupt our water banks and any future water banks in the Antelope Valley.
Right. So, like you say, that's.
I know. I'm just, but I've been following this, and I'm the one who brought it to our staff's attention. But I've getting a lot of calls from different people from all over, all the way down to San Diego. And I said, we don't have nothing to do with that. And they said, well, you guys are doing the water bank up there, and we heard that you have one of the largest concentration of Joshua trees on your property. And I said, well, I really don't know that either. I said, no, we have quite a few, but I said, I don't know where the largest. And so I just want to, bring that to our attention that we need to stay in tune and listen to what they have to say. But it's really, I wouldn't take this lightly, especially anybody who's a property owner in the Antelope Valley.
Yeah. Like you say, if it does become listed as a endangered plant, then there's mitigation measures that need to be undertaken and methods in which to protect the existing ones. So it does have a significant impact.
It's already being done to an extent in Palmdale. I'm not sure how this would vary from Palmdale's ordinance, but I don't know how they list them, but they have severe restrictions in Palmdale, city of Palmdale.
That's something here in the Antelope Valley because I've had several people building custom homes after they got their building permits and they got the thing 2/3 up. Fish and Game comes by their house and says, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, I'm building." He goes, "Did you get a permit to remove the Joshua trees?" He goes, "Well, I don't know. I got my permit from the building department of the county, and they didn't say anything." So, I mean, it's happening already in the valley.
I'm not sure, but I think it's fairly new in the last few years in the city of Palmdale.
I noticed that the city of Palmdale's website has the instructions and the permit to fill out to remove Joshua trees and which ones would be allowed to be removed and if they need to be replaced. So the city of Palmdale has taken some direction on it, but I don't believe the county has at all.
Well, let me ask you a question. What we got a resource department out there on Avenue Y. Why can't AVAC be part of the environmental solution by operating that thing to build to grow these small Joshua trees that people can utilize? It isn't just going to happen by some guy down the street. It's going to take somebody like ourselves or the cities to put this together, or maybe collectively the city, the county, and AVAC to put that to put those in for growing. That way, people from around the state has a place to go to get these things, and it would probably more than pay for itself for replacement plants for the Joshuas. I mean, that's just something to think about. If we wait until everybody makes a decision, if we don't do anything, somebody's going to make a decision for us. It isn't somebody else's problem. It's AVAC's, because we are now developing massive ground, and I just want to make sure that when we stand up, they're going to say, somebody says to us, well, all you want to do is kill plants. Well, no, I'm not. I want to reestablish the ones with new ones, but you can't transplant them. So that's the thing that we, should look at. But I wouldn't turn an eye on this thing because it could really be very expensive. That's all I can say.
I think the offset, Frank, is that the farm ground is already developed. All the ground, you won't see any Joshua trees on this old farm ground that's been farmed through the years. So probably that trade-off is, that farm ground can go to solar or many other building opportunities. But with that being said, I see the other side of it too.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point.
They put a restriction in. I can also see the point, but they're putting a restriction on the property owners, and I like the Joshua's, too, but it's something that shouldn't affect the property owner. It's something the government should pay for if they want to preserve those. In a better effort, the Fish and Game or the appropriate government facility should try to preserve what's already here. And on the west side, on the east side, you still have a large amount of acreage. So if an effort was put in, it might be put in to try to preserve, what's already there.
Right. I know in the Dakotas they have a CRP program that set aside and they pay you to plant trees, and that probably should be something that gets looked at. Something like that direction.
Yeah.
We go to our water bank and we see hundreds of acres of Joshua's, and I mean that's a prime area to try to preserve those.
That's right. Give the landowner something back to persuade him to take advantage of that program.
Yeah, definitely. Not just penalize them.
Right. I agree, Frank. George.
Okay, so staff will listen to the commission meeting and report back if there's any decisions that are made by the Fish and Game Commission, and we can move forward from that point.
When that commission meets, they probably have several agenda items. It's not just this one item. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you, Dwayne.
2 days of meetings. So. Okay, next item here is to go into our standard lack of rainfall report. We have no precipitation planned, or we can see into the future. Here's our bar graph. Shows that we had 3 good months and 3 really bad months, and a couple of mediocre months, and so gets us in the position that we are now in. We have the driest 2-year period on record between this year and last year, just to give you an idea of where we are, historically. Look at some of the reservoirs here. You can see, wanted to point out that in looking at our reservoir status, the ones that we concentrate more on are Oroville and San Luis. But if you're looking at, here's Trinity. It's, I can't read the number, but it's very low. So is Shasta here. So this supplies a lot of the irrigation water and for quite a few of the farming communities up and down the San Joaquin Valley, both north of Sacramento and south of Sacramento. Looking at reservoir levels here, you can see this is where we are. This would be average, so we're considerably below average. These are some of the other very dry years graphs, so you can see we're a little bit better. Not appreciably, but a little bit better. I would anticipate seeing us see the releases occur and get this down someplace in this location here by the end of September. Likewise, you can see where we are with regards to San Luis Reservoir. We're about right here in this location here, and we're getting set to draft down a little bit and utilize that water to the balance of the summer period. Looking at our treatment capacity, we're treating between 14 and 15 million gallons a day. See where majority of it's coming from the Quartz Hill plant, and we're continuing to move forward here. We anticipate that might creep up a little bit. As far as our use of our water banks, here you can see we got about 14 million gallons a day coming from the west side. Vance Ranch is providing about 1.7 million. So we got 17.7 million gallons a day going into the system from those supplies. If you look at the water banking. The only thing we're putting in just to kind of balance out our outtake out of the East Side Water Bank for water quality reasons. We're running about 65% of our total capacity. We anticipate to be up to 95 to 100% of our capacity during the peak of the summer months and get as much as we can moving through there. Like you say, we've increased our recharge rate on the east side to balance our removal rate so we can keep a balanced water basin in that general area. And then that intertie that was approved by the board has gone into play. We're moving about 1,600 gallons per minute, and that has helped meet some of the demand both in the Quartzville Water District and LA County Water Works. As far as water quality goes, we're doing our THM samplings. As John mentioned earlier, the raw aqueduct water is in pretty poor conditions because of the low flow. So there's a lot more monitoring that goes on in order to help with the treatment process that we got to go through. And then we test for microsynthesis. I can never pronounce that properly, but in any way, that's a potential toxic algae material. So we try and make sure that we test that to make sure that doesn't enter our system in any way. And then this is another item I wanted to talk to you about that's outside of the normal general manager's budget. This has to do with aligning our water rates and our budget discussions. Staff has been looking over how we've done things with regards to our water rates and our budget processes, and so we would like to have the board consider having staff work in a direction to establish our water rates and our fiscal year basis. That's the same time right now we use the water rates are on a calendar year, and then the budget's on a fiscal year. By aligning the water rates on a fiscal year basis, just like our budget, we can then align what the rate increase is for that fiscal year with the expenses for that fiscal year. And we think this is going to provide a lot more flexibility for the board as they go through their evaluation. They can evaluate what the revenues are from the rates and what rate increases are going to be necessary. And then on the corresponding side, they can adjust the budget up or down as necessary in order to kind of align and balance the revenue requirements and the expenditure requirements. And so it gives, as opposed to do it in two different sections where you approve a budget first and then you have go through a budget or water rate process to justify the expenses that are contained in that budget.
Yeah, Dwayne, I think we would need to think about that. It's not just for flexibility and what different water districts we sell water to in the fiscal year, the calendar year, and with the state. So I'm sure there's some advantages, but we need to not just say that's great. It's good for AVAC. It may be, but it may not work well for everybody else involved.
Okay.
And so I think that's something the board should look at, and maybe it should go to the committee and further discussion.
Okay. Well, we'll move it on to, if the board concurs, we'll move it back to the finance committee to review further and see how we can work on that better and bring it back.
That would be appropriate, Dwayne.
Okay, thanks.
But we need to look at all facets, how to fix our customers.
Yeah, I understand.
Because most water districts, and that's something we have to check. Are they on the fiscal? Are they on the county?
They're on a fiscal year basis. Most of them, yeah. All the public ones are on a fiscal year basis. Some of the private ones, they could be on a calendar year basis. But we'll send it back to the to the committee and do a little more work on it moving forward.
Isn't it something that, aren't we working on having a budget workshop soon?
Yes, we're going to have some budget workshops soon, so we'll try and get it back at the next board meeting.
Yeah, because we're going to need to make a decision on this pretty quickly if we're going to pull it all together in a timely manner.
Right. Agreed. So we'll get it back to the committee, and then we'll have a formal presentation at the next board meeting, and we're planning to have our first budget workshop in the middle of June.
Yeah.
So
on this, we've done this for decades. So maybe it could be changed, maybe not, but it doesn't have to be done. This is brought up when it's time, but we don't have to set a deadline. It's got to be done for this year.
Right. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that the board has a full, as we go through this budget workshop process, we want to make sure that the board has all the information as far as the capital program, the IT program, and all of our operation costs and all of that, and so that it's all done at a board workshop level, so everybody sees the same information, everybody has the same information, and then we can correspond with that. Some of the rate stuff, so that everybody's all looking at the same numbers at the same time. So that's what we're trying to achieve. As far as the events and schedules, we got the Water Master meeting tomorrow. We got a Memorial Day holiday on the 30th. And then we got our special board meeting on 6/7. This has to do with High Desert Water Bank Phase 2 and the workshop that's requested by the board with regards to that. The AV State Water Contractors are on 6/9/2022. I'll be in the office the next couple of weeks, and I think that's all we have for that. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dwayne. Any questions for Dwayne? If not, we'll move along to item 10. Are there any director's reports? Hearing none. Item 11, attorney's report. Mr. Markman.
You're muted, Mr. Markman. Hit *6.
Hearing none from Mr. Markman, we'll go along to item 12. Are there any requests for future agenda items?
Mr. President, this is Director Miller. I think we brought this up at a committee meeting one time, but I would love to hear some kind of report from the city of Palmdale in regards to what they're doing with the Joshua Tree program. I know that area where Amazon is going to be affected. The Joshua trees will be affected. I'm just curious if that would be something of interest to hear back from the city on their program.
Yes, this Dwayne Chisholm again. Director Donato has made a similar request with regards to the city of Palmdale. Staff is currently working with their staff to get a date that will work, where they can provide a bit of a presentation of what they're doing, what their major projects are, and so forth. So we're working on that.
I don't know if it's correct or not, but I've heard Amazon has been canceled. Anybody else heard that?
Yeah, I heard that also, George. Talking to some builders, and they said it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good news in some ways, but maybe they'll find another property. Maybe there's too many Joshua trees on that one.
I don't think the 10,000 tree is going to bother them.
No, but the Joshua trees are saved for now. So, okay, thank you.
Yep.
No, I just think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, moving along to item 13. Is there any old business to discuss tonight?
We have none.
Thank you. Item 14. Dwayne, is there a reason to go into closed session tonight?
No, there is not.
Okay. In that case, if we have no further business to discuss tonight, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I move we adjourn.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
This is Director Miller. I'll second.
Thank you, Audrey. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dice.
Yes, the measure passes. We are now adjourned. Thank you all for a very successful meeting. Good night.